on your computer. All right, and now I will pass it over to Andrew to kick us off.
Okay, thank you, Kristen, and thank you, members of the Climate Commission and members of the public for joining us today, October 24th. I think before we jump into roll call, I believe I mentioned the public participation instructions. Kristen, is that correct? So based on guidance from the California Department of Public Health and California Governor's Office, in order to minimize the spread of COVID, we are encouraging everybody to join via Zoom. And for the folks joining in public, we will give you a chance throughout today's meeting to share some public comments. Please use the raise hand function and we'll be on the lookout. And then if you're on the phone, if you could press number 9. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes per subject. And with that, I believe we jump into roll call.
I will kick us off with roll call with Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Dottle.
Here.
Commissioner Ullman.
Here.
Commissioner Kim.
Here.
Commissioner Serena.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Chair Mbondo is not present today. Commissioner Austin.
Present.
Do not believe that Commissioner Alvarez is present today. Commissioner Bennett is running late, but hopes to join us, but not present currently. And Commissioner Britton.
Present.
Great. And to our ex officio members, Sarah Morgan.
Present.
Camille Kirk is running late, but hopes to join us shortly. And Supervisor Saylor and Supervisor Provenza are both present. All right, I will pass it back to you, Andrew.
Thank you. Now we will begin with the land acknowledgement from Commissioner White.
We should take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we're gathered. For thousands of years, this land has been home to the Patwin people. Today, there are 3 federally recognized Patwin tribes. Quechua-Dehee, Band of Wintun Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, Quetzal-Dehee, Band of Wintun Indians, and Yocha-Dehee, Wintun Nation. The Patwin people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. It has been cherished and protected as elders have instructed the young through generations. We are honored and grateful to be here today on their traditional lands.
Thank you, Commissioner White. Our next agenda item is the approval of the agenda sent to us by Kristen. Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you.
I will bring us to roll call. Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Dottle.
Aye.
Commissioner Ullman.
Aye.
Commissioner Kim.
Aye.
Commissioner Serena. Aye. Commissioner White.
Aye.
Commissioner Austin.
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett. No, not present yet. And Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we would like to take a moment to have a public comment, and this is public comment for items that are not on the agenda. And we would like to take this opportunity to recognize the members of the public who have joined us. And so I will actually read out their names and then provide an opportunity for the folks who raised their hand. And I will start off by saying thank you, Richard McCann, for joining us, Kate Reza from Yolo County RCD for joining us, Juliet Beck for joining us, Christine Shoemaker. We have a name here, JPMS, not sure who that is, maybe we'll provide you an opportunity to say your name, and then Scott Stewart for joining us. And I believe Scott has his hand up, so we will provide you 3 minutes. And if you could start off by doing a quick intro as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Scott Stewart. I live in Davis and am supporting this Yolo County Climate Action Commission as a grassroots member of Yolo Climate Emergency Coalition. I'm interested today in just, first of all, I always like to say thank you for this group and the dedication of the volunteers that are a part of this commission. And do not believe I see, but it does look like proposals RFP is in the agenda at some point, and I just want to make sure that we hear an update about that. So not having understood that that was an agenda item, I'm asking that we get clarification on the status of the sustainability plan proposals. Thank you for my time.
Thank you, Scott. Kristen, did you want to take a chance to address that question, comment?
Yeah, that is listed under staff announcements, so we will get to that update shortly.
Thank you. Okay, and next we have Juliet Beck. 3 minutes. Thank you, Juliet.
Hi, commissioners and supervisors and staff. My name is Juliet Beck. I'm a climate advocate in Davis, California. And I wanted to kind of report back on a few things that maybe the supervisors will share. What an important milestone took place on last Friday with the barn welcoming session in Sparta, a community event with a number of the stakeholders that have been involved in creating a YOLO food hub. And it was just, I don't want to take the thunder out of the work that the supervisors have done to get to this point, but it was such a historic event with the purchase of a barn to become the future site of a food hub to support our smaller producers in Cape Valley and Yolo County to have access to markets and to aggregate their products to be successful in transitioning our food system to become more equitable and sustainable and provide more nutrient-dense food to consumers and institutions like school districts. So it was a really exciting event organized by Valley Vision and with a number of the stakeholders there, including the Farm Kitchen Table Advisors and this, who else are the stakeholders? I think Yolo Food Bank, a number of the local Cape Valley Farm Shop, I believe, as well. But it was just an incredible coming together of people that are supporting this food system work, sustainable food system and community-based food system work. So that was an exciting development. And I just wanted to make sure that that got acknowledged as we work towards lowering our carbon footprint and transitioning to having a just transition to a sustainable food economy within the framework of climate change as well. I also just wanted to share a couple upcoming events and opportunities for ongoing education. The Redbud Resources Group is a fantastic organization that focuses on Native Californian education and advocacy, and they have a Going Beyond Land Acknowledgement Masterclass on the November the 8th at 10 a.m. on Zoom, and it's a really great opportunity to learn more about their framework for bringing justice-based advocacy to our land work and partnerships with Native people and tribes. And then on Sunday, November, I think the 13th, November 13th at 4 p.m., Professor John Liu, Professor Emeritus in the Asian American Studies Department from UC Irvine, who's now a community member in Davis, is speaking on how Manifest Destiny changed the color of labor. So this is part of the Seeds of Justice series, and it's our third speaker for this session of Seeds of Justice speakers. So I wanted to invite folks to that. Now I can send these links and more information to Kristen for the minutes and encourage participation in those events. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. Any other member of the public? Okay, next we will jump into our next agenda item, which is approving our September 26th commission meeting minutes, which was also sent to us in the same packet by Kristen. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I will second that.
Thank you. Kristen, for roll call.
Thank you. Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Daddle,
Aye.
Commissioner Allman.
I will abstain since I was not in attendance.
Thanks. Commissioner Kim,
Aye.
Commissioner Serena. Aye. Commissioner White,
Aye.
Commissioner Austin,
Aye.
and Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. So next we will move to our next agenda item, but I do want to recognize one more member of the public who joined us, Chris Granger. Thank you for joining us today. And with that, we will go into our next agenda item, which is staff announcements.
Thank you so much, Andrew. So I feel like any time before when I have said, I think we're going to end our meeting early, I have been proven so wrong. It's been laughable, but I actually think today we will end early. So I will move through these staff announcements, and then we'll have a separate section for report backs from our initial working group conversations. But to kick us off, I wanted to share the exciting news and a tremendous thanks to Supervisor Saylor and Provenza, and for folks who joined and provided your input, but the sustainability analyst position, the funding for that was approved last month. And so something we're tremendously excited about that's going to be a huge help as we move into our climate action and adaptation planning process. Having that staff support is really critical. So wanted to share that good news with you all. And thanks again for all of your work to make this happen. Our second point is an update on the climate action and adaptation plan request for proposals process. As we have been hearing about this for a long time, and it's been a very lengthy process to have these proposals reviewed. And so we're excited to share that the proposals have been reviewed at this point. We're waiting for sort of our next steps to move towards contracting. But at this point, we're hoping that once the actual evaluation is finals, that we can bring things to the Board of Supervisors for approval at the November 22nd meeting. Somewhat of an ambitious timeline, but something we're really hoping for, which would then allow us to kick off our climate action adaptation planning process in December. So I wish there's just not much more that we are able to share at this time because of the way the county walks through these RFP review processes. But as soon as there's more information to share, as soon as any of the next steps are public, I will be sure to share those with the commission. But I'm very excited about our next steps and being able to move forward. And we'll have more updates to share at our next commission meeting in November and hopefully sooner. Yes, Andrew?
Yes, point of clarification. So the November 22nd meeting, is that the time when the county staff and yourself will have like a final recommendation on the entity that will be moving forward?
So that will be ideally when a contract with that recommendation goes before the Board of Supervisors. And earlier stage of this discussion, I know we have been asked if the commission will be able to vote on who the contractor is beforehand. After chatting with county council, that's not something that we are able to do. And so at the evaluation panel, it's sort of the next step is bringing a contract forward. There are interim steps that I am still learning, as this is my first time doing a RFP process with the county. But there are interim steps, but November 22nd is when we hope to actually bring a contract forward to the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you. I think Commissioner Serena.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just really interested and excited, of course, that this is moving along. Just hoping and wondering with the selection process, this is such an important decision, right, being made for the efforts for the county to move forward. I just, being a part of the equity and group, I'm just wondering, is equity being is being utilized to look at the applications? Is equity being utilized to select, who's chosen, the entity that is chosen?
Thank you for raising that. And that's, yes, 100%. And that is such an important part of the conversation. And I think going back to the scope of work that the commission put together, that is the tool that, is really guiding the selection process and did guide the selection process. And so it was really clear from that, what the priorities were, what we were really hoping this process would look at. And so definitely that's of critical importance.
Thank you, Commissioner Serena. If no other questions, maybe back to you, Kristen, to continue.
Thank you. So our next less meaty update is something that you have seen already in reviewing the commission packet, but we have received a request to move towards a sort of a modified note-taking structure that enables we've had some requests that folks would feel more comfortable with something similar to a Chatham House rule or something that is somewhat simplified and does not necessarily attribute all comments to the folks who have said them. Our full recording of all of our commission meetings will be available. I'm only sharing this as a highlight because how we structure notes as a commission is something that we have as a group talked about. But after getting this request and seeing how much of it's a tremendous time-saving tool for staff as well. And so please, if this does not work for you in any way, we'd be happy to discuss that further, but just wanted to flag that this is how we intend to take notes and distribute notes moving forward. I think they're a little bit easier to digest for a reader, but flagging that, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And then we have a number of communications related updates. And for these, I will pass it over to Julia. I also wanted to flag that Commissioner Bennett has joined us. So welcome. And I will pass it over to Julia.
Thank you, Kristen. And hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am really excited to provide some updates on the communications for Yolo County and for the CAP. We have launched the social media account. So for now, that's just the Facebook and Instagram. The Instagram is Yolo Sustainability, and then the Facebook is Yolo County Climate Action and Sustainability. We have a few posts up already, so go ahead and check those out. I would love any of your feedback if you have some posts that you'd like to see, content that you would like to see. So we're definitely soliciting feedback on that as we kind of go along and fine tune how we're sharing information on the social media accounts. And yeah, we are also still incorporating feedback from the website redesign and are hoping to have that completed in November. So that new website, now when you go to YOLO Sustainability, there will be the nice, pretty version of the website. So we are looking at having that up in November. And then we're also looking at having the newsletter launched in November as well before the commission meeting. So keep an eye out for that, and just wanted to flag those upcoming communications updates. So thank you, everyone, and let me know if you have any questions.
And I will also add to that, I want to thank Julia for all of her work in getting these pieces moved forward. One of the key pieces for both our social media pages and our newsletters, we really want to make sure that, one, we have clear, concrete communication channels as we move into our CAP process. Talking about the timeline as we just did, it is coming up. Our launch is hopefully happening in December. And so we want to make sure that we have these systems in place to be able to communicate and get the word out. We also want to be able to highlight events going on that are relevant to the work that we're doing. So thank you to those of you who have shared events. At the end of our agenda, we always have commission member reports. And so we've added a piece to that, as you may have seen, request for events to be included in November newsletter. So please continue to share resources, things that we have been, sending out more informally. These will all be turned into an official newsletter that goes out and really captures our work. And we would love to build these partnerships that we've been starting to develop and really highlight other folks through our social media and our newsletters. So an ask for everyone moving forward. If there's any questions about that, I can move to our next item, which is our December commission meeting. First, we'll have Commissioner Reed.
I just have a question on the website. Is it possible, I know you're dealing with the platform that the entire website was built on, but is it possible for the sustainability or whatever your title is going to be in the list of the menu drop downs on the banner on the homepage, as opposed to having to search for it?
Yes, it will be in the homepage. It will replace, so currently, essentially the pages that exist in our sustainability page, there's a climate action that is in one of the drop downs currently. We'll be replacing that with this new website that was beta tested last month. And so it will appear in the drop down menu and will hopefully be easier to find. That answers your question.
I think it does. Where I couldn't find anything. So in any of the which government drop down it's going to be in? I'm in the government one. But
I believe that it is under, so it will be updated and changed. So currently it's under living.
Oh, living, okay.
And so it has been referred to as the climate change initiative. That's how it's listed on the website currently.
Yes, okay, I see.
That will change to climate action and sustainability. And
Okay.
then that will link to the new website that was beta tested.
Okay, super, thank you.
Commissioner Daddle?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think it should be a high priority to keep people frequently updated on our early actions. I think that's so important that we show that we're doing while we're planning to do even more. And so both in the newsletter and, on social media, frequent updates to those, this is not a make work suggestion for the staff, but just so that we keep those in front of ourselves and the public. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other members of the commission? Hearing none, back to you, Kristen.
And I see that we have a member of the public raising their hand. I think if it's okay, if we can go to public comment after we complete staff updates, and then we'll loop back on any other questions that we have. So the next item is our December commission meeting timing. After chatting with the chair, the current meeting schedule, so our fourth Monday of the month, is it sort of falls in the county's holiday period, and many folks are going to be out of the office. Our office, Department of Community Services, is closed that week. And so we didn't want to lose momentum. I know that December can be a really tough month to have meetings, but given where we are in this sort of upcoming launch of our climate action adaptation plan, we decided that we wanted to try to have a meeting with ideally as many folks as we can have present. The date that was proposed was the one Monday earlier, so Monday, December 19th at 4 p.m. We wanted to flag that for folks to see in general if folks had any thoughts, comments on meeting in December. If there are none, we'll move forward with rescheduling our December meeting to December 19th. But I wanted to quickly open it up to see if folks have thoughts about that.
Commissioner Serena?
Thank you. Yeah, I know that I am going to be traveling on the 19th. I'm not sure if I'll be landing yet, or I just wanted to flag that I know I'll be traveling on the 19th. So if we are scheduled to meet on the 19th, I might arrive late or might not be able to attend.
Thank you. Commissioner Austin?
I'm available the 19th, but I also worry it's also, not a great time for public participation. That's the other thing I think about, not just our availability. So is there a reason that we didn't consider other Mondays in December, and perhaps if we voted that way? I am available for that date. So the question is, were other dates being considered, and if you wanted to share why they might have been ruled out?
I think just because we have our previous meeting would be November 28th. And so an earlier meeting in December would be maybe only 1 or 2 weeks after that November commission meeting. So that was why that Monday was chosen. Happy to consider other ones, but knowing that we would end up having 2 meetings close together. But knowing that there are going to be updates coming through between that November meeting and the end of the year. Well,
go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, I was just going to say, staff, we will continue to chat about this and look at dates. I think that unless we hear other comments, and it very well taken point, Bernadette, I'm hesitant to have a meeting at that time, but I also don't want to let too much time lapse. So I think we will likely be sending out an update for November 19th. But we'll look internally at the first 2 weeks of December. But I think if folks can hold the date, that would be great. Supervisor or Commissioner Britton.
Just a quick thing. The 12th, I would be unable to attend because the Winners Climate Action Commission meeting is on the second Monday of the month. So those are perennially out of bounds for me. But I'm happy on the 19th. 19th will work for me for what it's worth.
Thank you. Okay, so my last staff update then before I pass it over to Taro is a flag that tomorrow, NJ, if she is feeling better, will be giving a commission update to the Board of Supervisors, highlighting all of the great work of the commission that's taken place over the past many months. So I will be attending the meeting as well. We're very excited to be able to share updates on early actions, on RFP progress, and then our plans for the months ahead for the launch of our working groups and our engagement process for the CAP. So if folks are able to attend, always wonderful to have additional support, but flagging that for members of the public as well, in case you would like to attend that, provide any other public comment. So and the other note about that, we will be hopefully making these a more regular update to the board. Once we move into our CAP process, there's just going to be so much to share and we don't want to lose sight of all of the different pieces going on. So this will be the first of many commission updates to the board. And then I will pass it over to Taro then for our last staff update.
Thank you, Kristen. So good afternoon, commissioners. I wanted to take a moment to mention something that some of you know and some of you may have heard, but I want to let you all know that I will be retiring from Yolo County at the end of this calendar year. I have made a difficult decision to move back to my home country of Chile. I will share that the true reason behind this somewhat crazy move is in my mother. And if you knew my mother, you would understand why I'm doing this crazy move too, because she is a wonderful person. She turned 89 in June.
Oh,
And I made a decision that I just wanted to be closer to her in this phase of her life. She happens to enjoy good health, but her body is old and she's going to need help in the years to come. And I want to be there for that. I don't want to regret that and be here. And it is a tough decision. I understand that. And I don't want to use the cliche, but it is, I'm very much confident that I'm making the right decision for the right reasons, because as I've mentioned to my staff, it is what my heart tells me. And I often lead with the heart, and I cannot but be true to that. So I wanted to share that in person remotely with this commission because I have enjoyed the work. I'm extremely happy and proud of the work that you guys are doing, that Kristen, the help that we've received from the board, et cetera, et cetera. I believe in this effort like no other. And I just want to thank you personally for all the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Well, that settles it. I'm just going to stop doing this stuff too if you're not going to be around anymore.
Great.
I'm so touched by your comments, Taro, and you've been such a stalwart for Yolo County. We're going to miss you tremendously. And I'm glad, though, that we now have an ambassador in Chile who we can visit when we're in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for everything you've done to make Yolo County a better place for us all to live.
Thank you, Don. Thank you.
I also just want to say thank you for your service, Taro, here in the county. You've been a wonderful support to this effort from day one. And so very honorable decision that you are making. It is, you were raised right. So that's a good thing, and absolutely happy that you're able to go back and support your mom. And I think it's a wonderful decision. And so thank you so much for your service. And yeah, as Don said, I'm happy to know someone in Chile as well. But thank you.
And Taro, thanks for getting us off to such a great start here. It's clear how committed you are. And I don't think we would have gotten this far with other people. You not only believe in the effort, but you put your heart into it as you do everything. And we will really miss you. And we're going to all come down to Chile this time next year.
Perfect. I'll be waiting. Thank you.
We're really going to miss you, Taro. And I also wanted to share in the chat, Richard McCann said, congratulations and thank you for your effort in getting YCCAC approved by the county.
Thank you, Richard.
Any other members of the commission?
I mean, let's pile it on. Yes, I feel like Supervisor Saylor took the words right out of everyone's mouth. So congratulations on making this decision. It really feels the right one. And thank you so much for the work that you've done to support Yolo County and our goals.
Yeah, Taro, thank you for being part of the YOLO way. And the YOLO way will find its way to Chile in a nice convergence of pathways. So thanks for all your help with our early actions and everything else with the commission and much more. Much appreciated.
Thank you. And I am very grateful to have learned the YOLO way from YOLO's best.
well, we came down a long path, starting from the very beginning of meeting with you and meeting with the supervisors, and you've shepherded this process from the very beginning. And support it and help make it what it is today. So congratulations. And as a mother, I appreciate the decision that you've made. And I know your mother will be thrilled to have you there by her side.
Thank you.
So thank you, commissioners, for sharing, and Supervisor Saylor and Provenza as well. I was going to pass it back to you, Kristen, if there's anything else. If not, we can also open it up to the public for any questions or comments.
Yeah, we have public comment as well, and I know it feels hard to move on and continue a meeting after this. But I see that Juliet Beck has her hand raised, so I can open it up to her.
Yes. Juliet?
I'm sad too. I want to say, Tara, thank you for getting us to this point. You've just been instrumental in getting the commission off the ground. In fact, what I wanted to comment on is related to your leadership. You brought, on one of the earlier conversations as we were envisioning the commission, you brought environmental justice solutions to the Climate Compact meeting, and they gave a presentation on their involvement in creating an equitable climate action plan for the city of Oakland. And they are a consulting group that was formed in 2017. So I reached out to them to become consultants to the CAP process for Yolo County. So they're the key proposal team that was part of a submission for proposal for the CAP. And I consider them to be kind of having the gold standard when it comes to equity and climate action. So I'm gotta say I'm pretty disappointed that their proposal has not been reviewed as a, I'm assuming that you've gone through the interview stages of the evaluation process. And so I think it'd be helpful to understand a little bit more about what the equity rubric is, and how you're evaluating equity, and what that really looks like in the CAP RFP process. And I'm encouraging there to be a more transparency before a final decision is made on that. So it'd be great to have a clearer process discussion around that before it goes to the board on the 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. Would anyone like to jump in and comment on Juliet's comment?
I'm not sure that we can answer directly the question at this stage. Again, I want to make sure that we are protecting the process that the county has for RFPs. The comments are well taken, and there will be definitely opportunities. The final approval by the board is done in an open session, and therefore there will be opportunities. It is a little bit, and I understand perhaps a little bit of even uncomfort by perhaps even commissioners that process is not coming to this commission, but unfortunately those are the rules that we have to play by, and I'd like to leave it at that. Again, because there's no decision been made right now. As Kristen mentioned, we've gone through the evaluation process, but that has not run its course yet, so it would be premature for us to engage in any further discussions on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Taro. Next, we have a public comment. We have Scott Stewart.
Hi there, folks. I wanted to make an observation. First of all, thank you, Julia Olson, for getting the social media up and running. I don't have Instagram, so I can't comment on that, but I was just noticing, just to ask the question, if there will be a bilingual version of the social media at some level, because I think it's important. I think you all think it's important too. I wanted to make the comment that upcoming between now and the next meeting is the CalCAN, California Climate Agricultural Network. meeting, which is a wonderful opportunity to either highlight the work that this commission is doing and or learn from those that are part of that community. That's at the University of California, Davis, hosted on the 13th and 14th of November, with a tour on the 13th and a full day of meetings and sessions on the 14th. And then let's see. And also just to say, Taro, I'll wish you well. Thanks for my time.
Thank you, Scott. Next, we have Christine Shoemaker.
Hi, this is Christine Shoemaker. I wanted to, first of all, tell Taro we're going to miss him. And to follow up on what Richard McCann said, I remember being at the YOLO supervisors meeting in the audience as a public commenter when BCE was approved, and you were there helping us along. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. My other comment is I have a question overall on the process with the climate action plan and how that fits into the early actions. Do you foresee that before the climate action, the CCAP is all finished, that you would be open to other earlier actions before the CCAP is done, or are you going to halt all actions until that comes? You can answer that if you want or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. I will just jump in quickly to say that it is definitely, we do not intend to stop all other actions. I think we want to move forward with things as capacity allows. And we don't know what a future round of early action projects would look like, but it's definitely not something that we are opposed to. So something we are thinking about. We've been talking about concurrent actions sort of being a part of this process, and we will see how that goes as the rest of the climate action plan rolls out.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you for the folks from public sharing your questions and comments. Seeing no more comments or hands raised, we will jump into our next agenda item, which is updates on our working groups. And so I believe for our first working group equity engagement update, we will pass it to Commissioner Serena.
Thank you. And of course, any members of our working group can chime in if I miss anything. We met on the 19th and we basically went over 3 main points, and that was the update on the compensation policy. And that affects some of the other discussion. We understand that the county will be taking a look at this and deciding whether or not to, well, also there is going to be some grant applications that the county is looking at for compensation, but that will be on the agenda on the 22nd. Is that correct, Kristen? Yeah,
that's our hope, to bring it forward. And NJ will be providing an update on the timing of this to the board during her update tomorrow. But we're applying to the county is applying to a grant through the Urban Sustainability Directors Network to cover compensation. It is very hard to find additional funding for this. And so we're doing our best. We will see, and we should have the results of that grant application before November 22nd, when we hope to bring it to the board.
Thank you. Yeah, so, we're kind of just holding on before we conduct really hard outreach to our working group, because we want to be able to say, we have some funding for those that would like to participate, that we are currently looking at selecting. We're starting by, putting names on a spreadsheet that we think are, ideal to participate in this process. Also, if anyone on the commission can think of someone to add to our spreadsheet, feel free to send those names our way. But we are looking at folks around the county who already work in the front line with frontline communities, but also other individuals, whether business owners, farmers, farm workers, folks that are impacted, folks that are engaged or somehow being affected by climate change in our county, or witnessing it. So that is something we discussed in great detail. We are still operating as an ad hoc group. We understand that our group is also going to be operating under the Brown Act. So currently we will continue as an ad hoc group and then convert to the Brown Act once compensation, the compensation policy is confirmed for the work here. And that's about it. If anybody else on the working group would like to chime in, if I've missed anything. All right, thank you.
Great summary.
Thank you, Commissioner Serena. Any commissioners from the working group like to add anything else, or any questions or comments from other commissioners?
No, I think
Yes.
Serena gave a great presentation of our discussion. And I'd really want to just emphasize what she asked, and that's that we want to make sure that the invitations and the opportunity to participate on the working group are spread throughout the county. And there's some communities that we're not that familiar with. So anyone that has any relationships or suggestions for people that would potentially serve on the working group would be happy to have them. They should be forwarded to Kristen. And we're especially looking for maybe not the usual players, but people that have been, that we know who also tend to be oversubscribed, but who have been leaders in their community in some way with connections. And we're particularly looking for also some young people to participate. So just keep those cards and letters coming, so we have a list.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. To Commissioner Daddle.
Yeah, Suzanne just touched on what I was going to ask about, and that is, what will your strategy overall be to reach out to young people? I don't have any particular names, but will you interact with the county's new youth commission, for example?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm directly connected with the person who has formed that youth commission. I worked with her in the past extensively, and so I'm happy to be connected to her already. And so absolutely. And also, with our new social media platforms, we would love to, be able to utilize those for outreach as well. Or if we're, any kind of messaging that we'd like to send out, we'd love to utilize the platforms to make folks aware, or even maybe create our own platform specifically for our efforts, equity and inclusion efforts. But we don't want to oversaturate. If that is a platform that sounds right to use, then we'd like to utilize it, but also maybe not oversaturate with, I'm not sure if that would be too repetitive.
And Adelita also fortunately has some relationships to our local colleges. And so we'll be reaching out to them directly, because there may be some students who could benefit from being on our working group, maybe getting some credit for the work that they do.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Commissioner Bennett. Commissioner Bennett, did you have a question or a comment?
We can't hear you, Micah. I don't know if there's a issue with your connection. I know you're in transit, but we unfortunately cannot hear you. And if you have any issues as well, if you would like to place any question or comment in the chat, we could read it aloud for the public.
Thank you for that suggestion, Kristen. And maybe we can come back to Commissioner Bennett when audio comes back on. And then in the interim, how about we jump into our next update on working groups for natural and working lands. So I'll pass that to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Andrew. And I don't want to put Kate on the spot, but I see Kate from YOLO RCD is here today as well. We're in a similarly, we're having our initial planning discussions and have not yet launched our outreach process. But Kate, I'm going to promote you to a panelist for a minute. And if you don't mind providing an update or sharing any thoughts, that would be fabulous. Kate, you went off mute and back on.
Sorry. Hi, everybody. I just have a brief update, and that is that Heather is our executive director, is going to be reaching out to possible members over the next couple of months. And we, as a group, need to decide on the total number for the group. And we're looking to bring in at least 2 to 3 people who would be able to provide good feedback on behalf of the agricultural community, specifically about feasibility of goals and strategies, and hopefully to engage with developing goals and strategies. So that's about where we are at right now, and looking forward to participating in and continuing this process. Thanks.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Kate, again. And we'll try once more for Commissioner Bennett, if you're ready to share a comment or question. And as Kristen mentioned, if you wanted to type it out so Kristen can read it out loud for us, feel. So Kristen.
Capital Corridor train 545. We are headed to Oakland Jacqueline Square.
We actually can hear you now, Micah. Your audio is coming through.
That's
so
great that the trains are running. Are they on time?
They are. I caught it in Davis and I'm on my way.
That's
Anyway,
fantastic. We've had some delays with a couple of mishaps over the past few weeks. Very tragic.
Oh, that's
I'm
unfortunate.
glad you're not slowed down by that.
So what I was asking was if, do you want commissioners such as myself to like reach out to groups and just determine if they might be interested before passing their names or contacts forward? And if so, I just wondered if the working group has any kind of charter or description of its mission to be able to share.
Please share any contacts, or if you'd like to reach out to individuals that you think would be ideal for this working group. Absolutely, we welcome any references that are sent our way. We haven't developed a vision or mission yet, but we are looking at some that already exist at the county level. I know that they have a community engagement page policy. And so we've looked at that and also at their value statement, for their policy, community engagement policy. So it's something we're just using as reference, but we're still in developing our own.
And we
I
will
think
be
it's
developing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that in reaching out and talking to people, Micah, I think it's important. It's going to have limited people on it. Like, we haven't decided how many people yet, but, maybe 8 in addition to the 3 that are already there. Yeah, I think that would probably be a maximum. So, it's not like everybody come and join. So we're interested in people that would be interested in serving in a working group, and it's a real working group, not just coming to a meeting every once in a while. It's, doing some connection with their own community, and also feeding back into whatever policy development our group comes up with as we move parallel with the climate action and adaptation plan development process. And then also working to, when we have meetings and opportunities for public comment and public participation, that they act as sort of a channel of communication to their communities, not only for participation, but also with respect to sort of feedback and input about community needs and priorities. We'll get that all written up.
And I will say that both working groups, we are working on charters. The Equity and Engagement Working Group is far along in charter creation, and that's just something we've been working out some of the group logistics for. So we will share those charters when they are available and have been finalized by the working groups. And if that is helpful to read and look at as you're thinking about what contacts you might want to send along to the various working groups. And so I'm always happy to send contacts along to me, and I'd be able to pass them along to the different working groups. But we will share those when they're ready. And I think they'll be a helpful tool as you think through them. But as much as possible, I think we will be channeling a lot of that outreach through the working groups as we figure out what they look like.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Bennett and Kristen and everybody for the question and the answers here. I guess I'll just make a point for you, Kristen, and for Kate for the natural and working lands. If there's any way I can help in that outreach, my schedule is going to open up soon, so I'd love to assist. I know some folks just need to be called by a couple times, reminded, and hearing from a couple of other people hopefully can maybe move the needle. So in that sense, feel free to let me know, Kristen, if there's anything I could do to help. So maybe we could use this opportunity to also see if members of the public have any questions or comments in regards to the updates from our working group. And seeing no hands raised from the public for our updates on the working group, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is reports and updates, comments from our commission members. But I did want to take this opportunity, knowing that we have both Supervisor Jim Provenza and Supervisor Saylor here, maybe if they wanted to share any updates or anything on their end before then going to the other commissioners.
I'd share a couple things, and Jim as well. But first of all, I really look forward to the presentation tomorrow at the Board of Supervisors meeting. I think it's going to be a good step to bring all members of the board a little bit up to speed on some of the work you're doing. So that's important as we move forward to continue to have the buy-in from all 5 members of the board. So that's a very good step. I hope NJ is able to participate because she speaks so well on behalf of the commission. So I hope she's able to be there. Juliet Beck mentioned the Food Hub barn grand opening or the auspicious event at the Food Hub barn on Friday. And that is such an interesting piece because it's sort of it truly is a hub of so much activity, from the SACOG Rural Urban Connection strategy work that looked at how we can activate our open space and our farming communities, our agricultural industry in a way to build on the food system, to the Greater Sacramento Economic Council that's been working with the Food Policy Council to advance food and agriculture as one of the 4 basic industry sectors in our region, to the work that we've done here locally with the Ag Food Alliance and YOLO Food Connect. The Food Hub has been the key link to all of the efforts from all of those different thrusts. And the idea of it is to link our excellent growers, small farms, middle-sized farms, with access to markets, because that's one of the big challenges. And have those markets include our schools, our institutional settings like hospitals and custody facilities, and businesses that have feeding programs for their employees, and bring healthy Yolo County produced food directly to those markets. The schools in particular will really benefit from having the ability to bring recipe ready items from our farms to our schools. That barn is by itself a tremendous historical legacy. The barn has been used for, it's 100 years old, and it's huge. I guess it's I forget the area, but it's something like 20,000 square feet, a huge barn, well constructed. We'll be able to use that barn for generations to come, just as we have for generations that have passed, to really move forward our vision for a local food system that works not just for an export market, but to meet the nutrition needs of the kids in schools, and to help our farmers continue to thrive. It's a job creator. It's a greenhouse gas reduction, and it really will. And I'm thinking it's also going to be a place where small processors and small value-added businesses can kick off. I visited a similar facility in North Carolina about 4 years ago, and they were launching business after business, all kinds of them, small ones. One was a woman who produced Brazilian recipes in freeze-dried form that she was shopping all over the East Coast, and she started right there. There was also something they called well, I forget the name of it, but what they were doing is they were rescuing produce that was slightly bruised, not perfect, and they were using that for CSA boxes that they were doing the whole delivery system to. So it was sort of redirecting produce that might be bent or the wrong shape, or they're just not quite right for a grocery store, but perfectly usable and actually quite appealing. And so there's just so much work that we can do now that we have this facility. And it's really going to be a way to help the Cape Farm Shop explode its efforts, and to go in concert with the work that's going on with that depot in Esparto, where Maria McVarish is kind of re-envisioning what that can be, which will be sort of the public-facing dimension of this food hub idea. YCCAC did a food hub economic study about 8 to 10 years ago, and this is based on that model. But for us to be able to invest our ARP fund, a portion of our ARP funds, in this high leverage one-time investment is just what the president and Congress had imagined would be possible when they decided to try to build back after COVID in a way that would strengthen our communities. I couldn't be happier to have been able to participate in this over the past 12 years and to be able to see this one step happen last Friday. So Juliet, thank you for bringing that up. It was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us to gather together and in person and celebrate that moment in time. There were people there who worked there as farm workers in their childhood, and others whose families had been there for generations. It was just a wonderful little gathering.
Thank you, Supervisor Saylor. And before Supervisor Jim Provenza shares some remarks as well, just want to recognize Camille Kirk from UC Davis for joining us. Thank you, Camille. And with that,
thanks.
With that, Supervisor Jim Provenza.
Thank you. And I wanted to thank everyone here for all the work you're doing. There is, and there's quite a lot of really good work being done, and it has not gone unnoticed. I too am looking forward to the presentation to the board tomorrow, because I think the board will be very impressed by everything that's been accomplished. Really, the two-prong approach of doing early action projects and coming up with a plan to meet our 2030 goal are keys. When we went to the climate conference in San Diego last month, most of the other counties, I'd say everyone there was very impressed by Yolo County's example. And there were a lot of questions about how they could follow our example in government working together with community members, because that isn't happening everywhere. And setting goals that are ambitious, not just something that you know can be achieved, but that you have to stretch a little bit to achieve, which is really what our 2030 goal is all about. And I think we have made a very good start. And that builds whatever we've done will build towards future actions too, because I see the support for our efforts building not just in Yolo County, but surrounding counties and throughout the state. So again, thank you very much for everything each member of the commission is doing.
Thank you, Supervisor Provenza. With that, we'll open the floor up to the commission members for any additional reports, updates, comments, and or future agenda items. Yes, Commissioner Ullman.
Hi, thanks for this opportunity. I want to give you a brief update. The City of Woodlands Sustainability Advisory Committee met this week, or actually last Wednesday, sorry. And the city has told us that they have reorganized support for the committee, which I find extremely something to celebrate. There's been a lot of movement behind the scenes. I want to point out that Adelita and I both serve on this committee. The City of Woodland has reorganized its administration in this area behind something they're calling E4, which stands for Equity, Environment, Economy, and Engagement. And I really celebrate this. We're going to finally, after several years of effort interrupted by the pandemic, have a working session with the City Council coming up in January. The work group of the committee is being looked at. We've made considerable progress in the 3 years we've been active. The Woodlands Climate Action Plan is due for an update. That's going to be right on the center stage of the agenda going forward. And alignment of the committee's work plan with council goals and objectives is also going to be considered right up front. And I will say that the outreach that the committee engaged in back in July turned a lot of heads in this community. There's a significant movement on the part of members of the community in the directions of sustainability and climate action, which is something that I think a lot of people perhaps did not realize, and we want to continue that. So to me, the watchword going forward in the next year is going to be connection and collaboration between municipalities, the county, and other entities in Yolo County, and we're preparing to do that. So I just wanted to give you a brief update there. So the progress there has been good. I'm quite encouraged. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Ullman. Next, we have Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. In terms of a future commission item, not necessarily in our next meeting, and apropos of the conversation that Supervisor Saylor and Juliet Beck have had, I would like to look at food security and food system and food waste and sort of have a conversation or a presentation about how it's proposed that we deal with those issues within the Climate Commission. There are a few things going on that are relevant, and one of them was in last month. A few of us who are here today participated in a convening by Valley Vision on what we wanted as a region to submit to the White House Conference on Nutrition. And there is a report available that is the accumulation of the comments and submissions that were made at that conference, and some policy, not the least of which is to address how to orchestrate a better relationship between local food and the school lunch and school meals program, and also the combination of the various federal safety net programs into one place, if not one program, so that folks with varying eligibility for each of the programs that exist in sort of in a siloed manner now be available, so people could address more easily assess what they're eligible for and which programs best suit them. So there's an intersection there, and that the sustainability plan that was adopted last year also references, and sort of fleshing out a little bit more what pieces of that we might be more focused on, and how that relates to regenerative agriculture and local food system and some of the other issues that we either in this commission or as a county are addressing now. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. And next we'll have Commissioner Britton.
Yeah, just a quick update from City Winters. The Climate Commission there has formed now 3 working groups, and they are working. We have one, I think, of particular interest to this group, which is an outreach and engagement working group. And I can, if you think it's important, I can give the names of the people on it, but maybe to include in the future. But perhaps we should have our working group on outreach and engagement engage with the working group from this commission, so that we are neither redundant nor have any cracks form between the city and the county. And so maybe offline, Adelita, I could pass you contacts from our working group. Excellent. And we have also one on sort of finding funding, because City of Winters doesn't have a whole lot of money in its budget for this. So one of our jobs is to find money for the city, and we are working on that as well. And then lastly, we have one that is going to be working on sort of going through city procedures and plans and planning documents to see where the climate opportunities and possible actions are in some of the guiding documents that the city operates under. And hopefully all of that will lead to concrete action. But right now it's just rolling up our sleeves and getting to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Britton. Actually, before going on to the next commissioner, we have a question in the chat that I think we can answer pretty quickly. And the question is the title that was recently approved by the Board of Supervisors for the Sustainability Department. And I believe that is the Sustainability Analyst position. Kristen, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Scott, for the question. With that, Commissioner Bennett.
Okay, can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Okay, good. I have no idea what I did to make this work, so I'm glad it does. So a group that I work with up here in Cape Hay Valley submitted a proposal to the Yolo Subbasin Groundwater Authority that we had hoped would be prioritized to submit to DWR for a grant for improving groundwater sustainability management. Ended up getting rejected from even consideration for prioritization for a variety of reasons, but one of them seemed to be what we were proposing, which was a variety of what nature-based and ecological functioning type measures to improve groundwater research, also measures that would increase carbon sequestration and have a lot of other environmental benefits was not what DWR was looking for. They wanted to see construction was something that we heard. So we feel that we have a lot more work and outreach, and maybe that even through this group, we could have some ideas on how to do that, to talk about the connections between improving carbon sequestration and other environmental values and water, and what how they can really complement each other. We really felt like our proposal benefited the water, but it had so many other environmental benefits, while some of the construction projects had solely water. So we're looking for ways to communicate and connect up those very important cycles, the carbon cycles and the water cycles. So anyway, if people have ideas, if that can come into the working lands discussion, I think it's important to try to continue to push forward on those ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bennett. Next, we have ex officio member Camille Kirk.
Hi, thank you. I am so sorry that I had to miss most of the meeting. I really apologize. At a last minute walk-on meeting from across the UC that I needed to attend. And I apologize that I'm going to ask for a little bit of a recap from the group. Just wasn't here, obviously, when you were talking through the compensation item, and wanted to kind of understand where this group landed, if you did land, or if this is was deferred to a future, as a future agenda item for a future meeting.
Thank you, Camille. I'll pass it off to Kristen to see if you would like to respond directly to that question.
Yeah, thanks, Camille. So we talked about this in our working group meeting summary, and where we have landed is the options that were recommended by the commission will be moving forward. I'm just going to mute. Thank you, Micah. Moving forward to the full board for discussion and review on November 22nd. So it's a great opportunity for folks to attend, share public comment if you are moved to do so, and we will be sharing more information through the commission when we have a clear picture of where on the agenda it will fall.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm a big supporter. Obviously, I could not accept a commission stipend, but I'm a big supporter of the idea, and for a lot of really important reasons, and would like to see us demonstrate leadership in this, especially given that there are a lot of other counties and local jurisdictions that are doing this kind of work already, and I think we want to be there with them and not be behind. So just my 2 cents, but thank you, and I will share that with the board when it's appropriate. Thanks.
Thank you, Camille.
Thanks, Camille.
Next, we'll have Commissioner Dattle.
Yes, this might strike people as sort of off the wall, but in one of my early action proposals, I had suggested the county fair as a possible important outreach opportunity. That there's a long history of county fairs being places where innovation is introduced to farming and rural communities. And I think if we could frame our county fair as partly a sort of solutions to some of our climate crisis challenges, and have that possibly even as the theme, to have any vacancies on that body that guides the county fair be interested in finding solutions to climate crisis issues, and kind of think about a sort of interesting twist on what has been a historical function for the county fair. So maybe we could even have somebody from the fair come and talk to us, or talk about this in plenty of time ahead of the next one. Because these annual events, we let our thinking kind of go quiet for a while, and then they sneak up on us. But if we started now to think about that as a county-wide event, outreach event, maybe we could do something really creative. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Dattle. Yes, Supervisor Provenza.
Yes, on the topic of future agenda items, if there's an interest, I would suggest that we invite a staff member, perhaps the executive director of the Delta Conservancy, to a future meeting. They are not only a granting entity, but they have also become involved in projects related to climate and reducing the carbon footprint, not just in relation to water, but in relation to agriculture. So it would be good to, I serve as a member of that commission, it would be good to hear a report on potential opportunities for collaboration.
Thank you, Supervisor Provenza. I actually think that's very, very relevant, noting that I believe the Delta Tunnel Project EIR public comment ends at the end of this month. And this is the revised tunnel project. And so it's October 27th. So for anyone who feels strongly, and I know many farmers in Clarksburg feel strongly about the Delta tunnels, even in its revised form, the final public comment date is October 27th. So I think a future agenda item hearing from the Delta leadership group sounds very relevant, very interesting. I think a lot of farmers would find that very helpful. So thank you, Supervisor Provenza. I actually did want to make another suggestion on a future proposed item. And this is based upon our last meeting. Our last meeting, we had such a great presentation from Camille Kirk with UC Davis. And I know we ended that meeting with, I think Commissioner Britton actually suggested it. Could we have future discussions on what ways that the county, the city, or industry, private sector may be able to collaborate with UC Davis on advancing climate goals? And the idea was, are there any other university town where the university, the county, and industry are partnering together, private, public, and university partnership on achieving climate goals? And I think from what we heard from Camille at that time, she said yes, that there are, some models of what may have been done. And I think it would be great in the future if we can continually explore what on the county side, and or just as volunteers, and or our connection to industry, that we can collaborate as much with UC Davis, who I believe is can really move the needle on any one of these projects and programs and goals. So I'll conclude my thought there, and back to opening it up to any commission members before we open it up to the public. Any other commission members would? Yes, Commissioner Britton.
Yeah, so on to future agenda items. This is something I've mentioned privately to Kristen, and it might be an item for the Working Lands Group, but it might be something that the whole board would be interested in, the whole commission would be interested in. And I recently heard a statistic that the wildfires in the state as a whole have basically tubed all the carbon gains that the state has made in the last 20 years or so. But it also struck me in the midst of that bad news that there might be an opportunity that we as a county have seen so many wildfires recently. Of course, that carbon is in the air already, but that also means the land is ready to regrow and possibly sequester carbon. And I noticed that the Working Lands Group hasn't really got that, and the current cap that the county operates under doesn't really consider fire at all. And it wasn't really in the scope of work for this commission, but it seems like there's a big question there, sort of intersection of things that the county is very concerned about. And I know the RCDE is very interested in it, and a lot of local organizations, and there's a lot of money going into fire readiness and resilience, which is all part of climate resilience. And it just struck me as something that this commission might want to consider more formally at some point in some guise, either as guidance of the working land discussion, because it's natural lands as well, but also maybe more broadly. So just an ill-formed thought that I thought maybe would be of interest for a formal agenda item to consider more carefully.
Thank you, Commissioner Britton. Next, Commissioner Austin.
Yeah, thanks so much, folks. All good comments and contributions. I'll just flag a couple of things. I sent this information to Kristen, but this Friday, commissioners, council members, school board members, et cetera, are invited to participate in our YED, their TED style talks. And we're talking about how we can do this, do more positive, kind of cross-jurisdictional collaboration and community engagement. So I'll just flag that that's this Friday, and it's a virtual meeting during the lunch hour. Also, we would be remiss if we didn't highlight that we've got an election coming up and people can mail out their ballots now. There may be propositions or candidates that people who care about climate change really want to support. So just encouraging commissioners and members of the public to vote early, vote often. They can vote right now with your mail-in ballot. And I'll also, gosh, I totally forgot what I was going to talk about, but I think those are the two things I want to make sure to highlight for folks.
Thank you, Commissioner Austin. Commissioner Serena, did you have your hand up earlier?
I did for a second and then I lowered it, but I wanted to support what Commissioner Britton had mentioned about fires. It's something, of course, we firsthand have experienced. Even though the fire isn't in our county, we're still impacted by the air quality. And so I agree that fire is deeply impacting our county and the air quality, and that leads to health issues, not for just us, but for our most vulnerable, which are children and elderly. So I always think about that. And it's one of the premises of why I have been involved in climate action, because my son was impacted by the smokes during his football seasons. And so I would see firsthand, the impact that it was having on his peers and him. And of course, we don't know what the consequences will be long-term from breathing in that particulate matter. Is very dangerous. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Serena. Any other members of the commission? Seeing none, we will open up the floor to the public for any final comments from the public. Okay, we have Scott. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you, Scott Stewart. I just wanted to make the suggestion. I believe that the Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, and the community of Rhode Island has been very forward in their cross-community development of their climate actions. So you might check into that as a colleague in this effort. And other than that, I look forward to tomorrow's board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Any other members of the public? And seeing none, we will go to our final agenda item, which is our long-range calendar, attachment C on the commission packet. I guess I'll pass it to Kristen.
Thanks, Andrew. And I've got a persistent cat meowing behind my door, which you might hear in the background. Just to say, we have noted all of the suggested requests for future agenda items. Thank you so much. We have an update on the Yolo County Agricultural Conservation Priority Plan, which will be occurring next month, got bumped from this month, and that's what freed up some of the space in our agenda this week. And it was really nice. I feel like we were able to have a robust discussion at the end of the meeting, whereas this time often feels very compressed and late. And then in December, we're coming back to some of the other items that have been brought up, where the big variables are when our actual CAP process will kick off, and want to have a robust conversation with the selected consulting team as soon as they are on board. So there will be an update, and we will update this calendar to include 2023 very soon, because that is needed and it's coming up. So if you have any questions, please let me know, but I will leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. And before we adjourn, just want to ditto what Kristen mentioned, thank you everyone for great comments, so insightful, very rich. And I think that I really enjoyed it. And thank you, of course, members of the public. Special thank you to Supervisor Jim Provenza for your remarks, and Supervisor Don Saylor for your remarks and comments and suggestions. Definitely got a lot of good ideas for future agenda items as well. And so with that, I believe we are ready to adjourn our meeting. Is there an motion to adjourn?
Well, could we have some discussion? I think I want to say, Andrew, you did not totally screw it up. So good job.
Thank you. I was nervous. I was shaking my legs. I'm like, oh, so, thank you.
Round of applause.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Do we roll call here, or do we just say all in favor? Aye. Okay.
We can adjourn. Thank you all so
adjourn.
much. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. See you next
Happy
month.
Monday.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Feel better,
Bye.
Camille.
Good job, Andrew.
Thank you.